So welcome everybody. I'm John Jackson. You can call me JJ, and this is Startup Talk. We're broadcasting from Cal State Fullerton. Welcome. Cal State Fullerton has had talk radio now and music for about 20 years. We're broadcasting in 130 countries around the world, which gives me pause. I suddenly will question things I'm saying. Is that, will the people in Kenya know what I mean when I talk about Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton or something like that? So the show is dedicated to startups and understanding what it takes to start up a company, who does it, how do they finance it, what works, what doesn't. It's a complicated subject, and a lot of people aspire to build a company. It's another thing to actually do it, and it makes it a lot of fun. So I'm a professor in the classroom teaching entrepreneurship. I'm a Silicon Valley guy by heritage, and I did a tour on Wall Street taking companies public. This is kind of my third career, teaching entrepreneurship, and it really gives me a lot of hope. You can find more about me at johnbradleyjackson.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. Oh, one other thing I do is I'm the founder of Titan Angels, which is a angel investment fund, and that kind of fills up my dance card pretty good. Today's guest is Mark Manguera. He's a serial entrepreneur, a chef, and an expert in culinary real estate. And he is the founder of Kogi BBQ, Paradigm Coast Group, and a number of other things. So welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, very cool.
Great to be back on campus.
Yeah, Mark's an alum, as am I, by the way. And it's nice to have you back here with us Titans. So let's just kick it off and explore Kogi and kind of where that started.
Absolutely.
So tell me about it.
Well, Kogi was born out of essentially late night hunger back in 2008. If you remember that time, it was a really difficult time in the U.S. economy. 2008 was the crash that crashed the world, in my opinion. And I was out of the job twice in 1 year, which is a really, really difficult time. And one night, went out late, and we thought, wouldn't it be great if we can get something to eat? Now, back then, 2008, Uber, Lyft did not exist.
That's
and
right.
To hail a cab in Southern California was near impossible. And so what we had to do back then was just sober up and drive home. Unfortunately, that's what we did, right? And so, and how do we sober up? Get something to eat. Now,
Yeah.
Southern California, Los Angeles, Orange County is famous for its diverse ethnic cuisine, one of it being Mexican food and Mexican street tacos. So came up with the idea, wouldn't it be great if someone put Korean barbecue in a taco, sold it from a truck, and parked it right outside of this bar. And that's how Kogi, the idea, was born.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you owned a truck? How did you?
Oh, no, we were broke. We didn't have any money. Through diverse friendships throughout the different type of networks that we're able to create, working in the hotel world. That was my primary form of income before the crash, was working in the hotel world, the hospitality world. Made a bunch of friends, and one person actually ended up owning a bunch of trucks and helped us start by providing us a truck to get the idea off the ground. So no, we did not buy. We simply leased and rented. That's how we started.
Yeah, very cool. So your thinking was it was the clubbers, the club scene in downtown LA, right?
Well, it was in Hollywood. Hollywood is always the place to, even now, and I'm sure it will continue to be that place to have a good time late night. And so we wanted to target the market where people were walking out of these places at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and were hungry. And so we targeted clubs throughout Hollywood, In fact, one of them, the first one was called Green Door, which has now been a few other things as clubs happen. That's kind of the nature of their life cycle is they change names, they change ambiance, they change interior design and exterior design. And so we decided, let's park in front of the most famous one, and we did. And sure enough, slowly but surely, people started to come out to the truck because they were wondering what are these two Asian guys doing on a truck selling
So
food?
you had a
We're
partner,
we're
that's
the
right.
first ones. So, yeah, that's right. He still is a partner. His name is Roy Choi. So
Roy Choi,
we
right.
started that and had a bunch of family and friends to help us out. And knocking on wood, as I'm doing now over the radio, it worked.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work.
Now, Roy was also a trained chef?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he worked he was a chef for many years. That's right.
Okay. You know, this idea of the fusion of Mexican and Korean food, we refer to that as fusion, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah. I like to call it fusion. I like to call it also a natural, organic, authentic way to fuse the diverse cultures that we have here in Southern California together. But yeah, of course, people call it fusion. I think
Yeah.
that's the right word. I tend to look at it and say, look where we live. Of course, this is going to happen naturally.
And it was a new idea. Were there other people doing
No, I mean, food trucks have been around for a long time, right?
Uh-huh.
They were construction trucks,
Right, yeah.
They are. I use this in the most positive way, but people call them roach coaches for whatever they are. They've been
Yeah.
around for a long time,
Yeah.
right? We just happen to be the first ones to serve a different type
Yeah.
of new cuisine.
But the cuisine, that was new.
That's correct. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
right.
no one was doing that at the time. Putting those two together. That's
Yeah.
correct. That's right.
Now, within your personal heritage of Roy, do you have Korean roots in terms of the food? Or
No, but I love Korean food.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's right. Yeah, I love Korean food. I love all cultures and all food, but certainly Korean food.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, so you and Roy try this with a truck, and it works, right?
Miraculously.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now-
Yeah.
Now, I remember, the social tools that we just take for granted, what is
Today.
now 11 years, 12 years later, whatever it is, they were kind of a big deal, a new thing, and particularly Twitter, right?
Yeah, that was, in fact, I remember this conversation vividly. I didn't know what that was. And my question was, is it free? I was like, yeah.
Then you like it.
And I was like, let's give it a shot. My experience for Twitter was it's essentially a larger format or platform, now they call it. Back then, we didn't know what to call
Yeah.
it. It was called a website. Apps were just kind of new. A different way to communicate. And we thought that'd be great, because what if a truck broke down? Or what if we were late? Or what if we had to move? Back then, we were pioneering this concept of a food truck. There were no rules or laws. We just parked kind of like where we thought it would work. And then if we were in trouble, we'd get kicked out. So we thought Twitter would be a great way to communicate our whereabouts, our brand, and our story.
So you would pre-announce that you would be at a location?
That's right.
Right?
Right. So we'd say we're going to be at Cal State Fullerton next week or tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Here's the address. Here's the time frame. We're late, for example. We're not late. A truck broke down. We've got to move. It's canceled or whatnot. So it was
Right.
a really awesome way. And again, Twitter was so brand new to
Yeah.
us, right? That was a foreign object. We didn't know what that was, but it was free.
Yeah.
So we went for it. Yeah, that's right.
And so today, their food trucks are ubiquitous, right?
Yeah,
When we
yeah.
go to a park, when we go to a urban location, there they are. But it was a big deal for Kogi at the time.
That's right.
And I recall some incredible press coverage for you guys
Yeah.
initially, right?
Yeah.
CNN.
It was amazing, man.
Yeah.
I that was idea born out of late night hunger, and all of a sudden we had all this press. We didn't know how to respond. So, they're just like people just working hard and wanting to serve food straight from our hands to the people of Southern California. But yeah,
Right.
that was miraculous. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very, very thankful about the whole
Yeah.
situation. But looking back on it,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went from one truck and you started to grow. You expanded with additional trucks,
That's right.
staffing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me
that's-
about that.
Personally, I was able to understand how did that work? Not necessarily fully understand it, but I worked at hotels where I manage, 100, 200 people. So that helped
Right.
a
right.
lot. Hotels are like mini cities, right? They've got their own HR, they've got their own infrastructure, back of house, different departments, sales departments, banquets, room service, anything. When you go to a hotel, it's like a little tiny city, and it's open 24 hours a day.
Right.
So having that type of experience helped me understand how to kind of figure it out. But when you don't have the 100 to 200 people to work for you, then you're on your own, right? So now you understand, it's like, well, I've really got to get this thing going on myself.
Yeah.
So the experience helped a bit. And then we started from 1 truck, 2, 3, and 4 after that. Did we grow too quick? Maybe not. But we felt that it was organic and still going today. So really proud of that. And more importantly, I think, JJ, what I'm personally proud of is the entrepreneurship behind it. Is people saying, hey, I know how to make an awesome butt cake, or I know how to make an amazing burger or barbecue or pizza. And what it started was the opportunity for people to see their strength and go for it and bootstrap, like what we did. As long as it's free, we're all good,
Yeah.
right? But bootstrap, find a plan, make the plan, find people, and start their business. So I thought that was, and it still is, right? See, I mean, you go all over the world, you see food trucks now. And so to me, that's what really makes the most sense and makes me happy.
So flash forward to today.
Yeah.
Kogi, what's the footprint today? How many trucks do you
Got
have?
4 restaurant. And things are growing. Things are doing well. We're looking forward to the future. Still working at it.
There you go. So there's a bricks and mortar restaurant. It's not branded as Kogi though, is it?
Kogi Taqueria. It's an overlay. It's in. I'm giving you a street name. People don't know that, but it's in Palms, Mar Vista type area near Kogi
Okay.
City. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, any thoughts about expanding in other states, other geographies, or
I think that's in the future for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But right now, LA is our home base and it's our baby.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're happy here.
Right. I have students who have a strong interest in food. They might want to go to the culinary academy.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Right.
Yeah.
I encourage them. Well, with proper training, you got to start somewhere. By the way, and maybe a pop-up or a food truck is a good way to start. Would you agree with that
Yeah,
comment?
I think so. Pop-up, a food truck takes a little bit more money than a pop-up, but they both have their own challenges. You need a few bucks to get a truck, right? And then obviously you have to look for food, and you got to source out all your equipment and your product. Pop-ups are much more organic in terms of the way it's perceived and socially and towards the public. And it's also a much more special socialized experience putting together a pop-up, because it's more unique and it's a one-time deal. Or typically it's supposed to be unique and maybe it's like over the weekend, for example, or if it's for a week or a month. But it's more special in a way because you may not be able to experience that food at the cuisine or that chef again. So pop-ups are much more, in my opinion, easier to launch your brand versus going onto a food truck. That, in my opinion, John, what I would do is go into a pop-up first and then into a food truck. You'll be able to gauge as an entrepreneur. You'll be able to gauge much more your success, or unfortunately lack of, before you start jumping into the game of the food truck. And sometimes these pop-ups can last a year. I know people have been doing pop-ups for 4 or 5 years, and then finally find the right person to, you talked about, invest with, or find the right location. That's a whole nother subject, which I'm sure maybe we will get to today. But starting off, I would say have some fun, first of all, right? Go and start your first endeavor on your own and do it as a pop-up first. And then you'll start to see if it's successful or not, which I'm sure it will be. And then from there, you'll be able to gauge what your next steps are.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is contrasted to what I would call the old way, which is, all right, we're all in, we're in a restaurant, and you commit to a 3-year lease.
That's usually 5 and a lot of money.
Yeah,
for sure.
and the build-outs, and then you open the door, and then where is everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, the failure rate is 90% failure rate, in my opinion. And people put everything into these restaurants. To open up a place, you've got to have, in my opinion, $250,000. And that $250,000, I always tell people, I have I've been fortunate, John. People want to do something with me all the time, and I try to scare them away because it's the truth, and I live my life in transparency. So I say, look, if you got $250,000, you got to be able to look at that money and never see it again, right? So this is the type of amount of money where you can flush it down the toilet, throw it in your fireplace and burn it, and not blink an eye at night, not lose sleep. So now if you're skittish, or if you may feel that you have any hesitation or doubt, then don't get involved in the salon industry for you, because that $250,000 could typically sometimes is gone before you even open the restaurant. Just in the build out alone could be that much money.
Yeah, and I would advocate, well, you got to be special on top of everything else, because all you got to do, speaking of Harbor Boulevard and Fullerton, just drive down the boulevard and you see restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. And what makes a restaurant special?
And sometimes, JJ, you'll find restaurant row with for lease signs, and that's painful, right? I mean, it's just like the guy didn't make it, or it was a wonderful dream and an awesome goal to get to, but there's a long list of things to do and an intricate, complicated plan of execution to put together. And it's great to have dreams. Like, I think the world needs big dreamers and big ideas, but without the plan to execute each step carefully and methodically, you're going to join that 99% rate pretty quickly. And it's sad.
So, returning to the way we opened the show up, you were talking about the need in Hollywood, right? Was that something you just did like that, or did you study it? Or?
No, well, I'm going to tell you some things probably I shouldn't, but I used to go out a lot when I was younger, JJ. So those are the clubs I went to.
You were a single guy at the time?
Yeah. And so those were my
your people.
place to be after work, right? It's so they saw me. They're like, "Hey, you were a patron, and now you got a truck outside. Let me help you out." And let's just call it the word organic. It just organically found the right place to be. That was a fun time.
Yeah, very cool. Well, let's dive back a little bit.
Sure.
I'd like our listeners to get to know you a little better. So, where'd you grow up?
So I was born in the Philippines. Came here when I was 3 or 4 years old in 1983 or 1984. I just aged myself. Thanks, JJ. Appreciate it. Class of 2002. Thank you very much, Cal State Fullerton. And immigrated first in San Francisco, and living with family, as most probably immigrants do. You stuff a bunch of people into a home and you just try to figure it out after that. And my parents did. We lived in the Bay Area until I was 18. I went to high school at Benicia High.
Yeah. Were they in the food business by chance?
No, but we love food. That's one thing I remember growing up, which is partly the reason why I ended up going to culinary school after I went to Cal State Fullerton. But I went to high school, Bay Area, and first thing I can do as soon as I graduated high school was get the hell out of the house. So I went to Cal State Fullerton, went to L.A., but my parents ended up following me, of course. And so they moved down to L.A. with me, and after I graduated college in 2002, it was also a tough time, JJ, if you remember. That was post.com.
Right.
And more importantly, something that everyone will probably remember was 9/11. Mm-hmm. And so those two things, in my opinion, was much more difficult of a time in America than 2008. Though 2008 was a tough time too. A really, really tough time. I think it affected most people in America, if not the world. But emotionally, there was a more sensitive time in 2001, 2002. And so when I graduated college, I couldn't find a job. Mm-hmm. I was like, damn. And so I'm sitting at home on my parents' sofa, and I thought I'd just go back to grad school. But that was also a tough time to get back to grad school because all the dot-commers who had failed were doing the same thing. Same thing. And so, as you know, you've been teaching for a longer period of time. They get accepted into college before an undergrad would because they've got the experience, right? And so I was just SOL. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what else to do. And so one day I was sitting on the sofa, and this was back in 2002. When Food Network was just starting, if you remember, Mario Batali was on there. Emil Lagasse was actually cooking, right? Mm-hmm. These guys were teaching you how to cook food.
Yeah.
Now nothing against it, but now the Food
They're
Network,
celebs. Yeah.
They're celebs, right? But now they're more competition-based shows on
Yeah,
Food
yeah,
Network,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
A lot of that, which is cool too. But back then, if you wanted to learn, you actually watched a Food Network, a lot of good food.
Yeah.
Well, he inspired me. Going back to food and Filipinos, that's
Yeah.
one thing that brought us together. Of course, a lot of other ethnicities
Yeah.
in the world bring food together. And I remember growing up, having a hard time growing up, but we didn't have a lot, actually. We didn't have much, to be honest. But food brought us together.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wouldn't that be great if I did what Mario does?
Yeah. Now, as a kid, a teenager, food preparation was an area of interest, or did that come later?
It was when you cook with so many people for a Thanksgiving dinner or a Mother's Day brunch, I was always given a task, like the lowest task, like peel some potatoes, right? But what I learned from that and what I experienced from that was being next to people who I don't see often, which my aunts from LA or my family from New York. They'd always come together, and I thought
Right.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun social experience. Now that I'm older, getting into many more different things, looking back at it, that's what I was looking forward to, was seeing people I haven't seen in a long time, and that was really the spark that started to help inspire me to
Yeah.
become.
Did you have a large family by chance?
Yeah, we had a huge family. We still do. Here in Southern California, probably 20, 30 family members, not including cousins, and Bay Area is a lot bigger. Back in the Philippines, I haven't been back in 20 years. I went back 2 years ago, and I ran into 33 people.
In Benicia?
No, in the Philippines.
In the Philippines. Oh,
I never met in my life, and they say, we're your first cousin.
yeah.
And took me back,
Yeah,
and I thought,
yeah.
well, I haven't been back here in a while. So yeah, we have a huge family,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think the role of family in food's very interesting. So I'm from a big Catholic family, 8 children. I'm number 7. And in fact, I'll be hosting Thanksgiving, and if you folks want to join us. And we'll have about 40 people there.
I'll bring some Filipino food. You can use some of that, I'm
okay,
sure.
love it. So to me, food and family they're partners. And also in my background, the show's about you, but my mom and dad bought a little Italian takeout restaurant, right? So at age 12,
Were you working in it?
yes, I worked there from age 12 to 18.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're at the tail end of the family, my younger brother and I, and we worked there.
What was your position?
I did the register a lot,
Yeah,
the front end,
yeah.
because
That's
I
a
could
tough
count.
one. That's
yeah,
tough.
Yeah, but
You gotta be
it's
fast.
it's 7 days a week. Which
That's right.
we were off on Sundays, but no, on Mondays. No, we weren't. We were
Yeah,
cleaning.
that's right.
Right, and tough business.
Yeah.
So I share maybe a little bit of insight with you about that. So you went to the Culinary Academy. That was in San Francisco?
That's right. After college, 2002, couldn't find a job. Got inspired by Admiral Lagasse, and I went to the California Culinary Academy in San Francisco, CCA. Yeah, that was an awesome experience. I lived in the city. My apartment was 2 blocks from the college, and I'd walk there every day. And that was a really important key time because after I'd graduated, it was a 1.5-year program. After I'd graduated, it turned into more of a corporate machine. So I was lucky to be part of that one last year of school. And what I mean by that, JJ, is that my classes were 10 hours long. But the reason why it was 10 hours long is because the school were prepping us to, as you know, that's how long you'd stand up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So in the restaurant industry, a 12-hour day is like a 7-hour day. Anything less than that, it's like, hey, are you working today? Are you taking a day off? Or are you working part-time,
Right,
So, but after that, unfortunately, it got cut to 6. And honestly, like, you can't teach anyone to be a chef in less than a year in school. Like, I think, my personal opinion, you got to work for 10, 15 years before you can call yourself that.
Right.
Other than that, I think it's playful. It's great that you can learn and cook food and I think make delicious food, but to learn the intricacies of food cost, labor cost, ordering, all those types of financial controls, you can't learn that in 1 year. It's impossible, in my opinion. I think it takes 5 to 10 to 15 years to really understand how to run a restaurant.
And then following that 18 months at the Culinary Academy in San Francisco, then you went into work in the hospitality
That's
arena,
right. Yeah,
hotels.
my first job out of I was really lucky. My first job was in Maui, at the Grand Wailea Resort. But that was an internship even
Oh,
for a few months.
okay.
God, that was tough because it was free. I
Uh-huh.
didn't get paid, but I had to live there.
That's an expensive
So,
place to live.
yeah, that was tough. But the resort was really understanding, and so they let me eat there 3 times a day, which was kind of nice.
That helps, yeah.
But my promise to them was I'd just work 7 days a week.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up cycling through all of their different restaurants. Now the Grand Wailea Resort is huge. It's a beautiful resort, southern part of Maui, overlooking the water. And I'll never forget the sunsets because it was magical and enchanting part of the world. But I went through all of their restaurants, sushi restaurants, the bars. The bakery was interesting because I'd had to go to work at 1 a.m. and be done at 8 because it's overnight is when when the bakery would be getting food ready and prepared. And so it taught me a lot. I got thick skin real quick working there. It prepared me for essentially the rest of my life after that. Yeah. Then after that, I was young, so I love Maui. By the way, it's a wonderful, wonderful island in the state of Hawaii. I have really close ties with Hawaii, but being young, you can only make a left or a right in that town because you end up in a circle because you're on an island, right? And so I wanted to get back to the mainland. So I ended up working in some of the top catering companies in Napa and Sonoma for 2 to 3 years. Really honing my skills. Honing my skills to understand what it takes to be a cook, not a chef.
Okay.
So far from that. So I worked all over Napa, all over Sonoma, worked as a private chef there as well, and just getting gigs. I had a big loan to pay back. So just getting as many gigs as I can.
Yeah.
And then after that, John, I decided, okay, I think I feel pretty confident where I understand how the back of house works. And that's just lingo for the restaurant world in terms of the kitchen. Now I'm going to combine what I learned in business at Cal State Fullerton and combine the two and go to front of house, which is for the rest of us is the manager, the front of house role, like being a manager in a restaurant. And so I did that, and I got my first gig at the Huntington Beach Resort and Spa as a supervisor. I didn't even care about the titles. I just wanted to learn.
Yeah.
I did really well. Then I got recruited over to the Beverly Hilton and was the assistant GM after that.
That's big time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Actually,
You were young, right? So
I hope I still am. I don't know. But actually, what's interesting, if I can digress just a few moments, I had this plan. I'm holding a piece of paper for people who are here, and I thought I would one day need to go to a bank and ask for money if I wanted to open up my own restaurant. What would they look for? This is 2002, before I even went to culinary school.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably going to ask for credentials. What have you done?
Right.
Did you go to school for it? That's the reason why I went to culinary school, was
Yeah.
to get the credentials. And also part of the plan was, to your point, that's big time. You said it. And thank you for that comment. It's a wonderful comment. The reason why I chose to leave the Hyatt, which was a tough choice, I really love the company, was because if anyone in the world knows different places or like different locations around the world, like Paris, New York, San Francisco, Maui, Beverly Hills, that'll pop out of my resume a lot more if I wanted to travel the world and cook. So I purposely left the Hyatt for that, which I don't regret, but I regret leaving the people, and because they're just lovely people. But to go into to Beverly Hills because I knew one day that would shine from my resume when I need to go to the bank. Fortunately, I never had to go to the bank, which is kind of nice. But I knew that I needed my resume to shine, and so I left the Hyatt to go to Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills is tough. I mean, it's it teaches you, tough in terms of the amount of hours you work. 12-hour day is like a part-time day there, right? 14, 15, 16 is just what you got to work. Sometimes you don't have a day off. Sometimes you have one day off a week, and if you have two, they're always split.
So I'm ignorant of that world.
Yeah.
So for the servers, they're getting tips, kind of a cut of the action. What about the back end? Are they?
Now they do.
Now they
back
do.
then they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they do, but back then they didn't. They would get paid just a little bit more, but it's still a hustle.
Yeah.
Still hard work. Yeah, absolutely. So I did that for a while, and 2008 came. Got let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough time. And then I got picked up again at what was the Ritz-Carlton in Pasadena, which just turned into the Langham, and luckily I stayed there for a few months and got let go again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just tough. I mean, no one's paying at that time. Even now, it's expensive, $500 to $1,000 a night of room. Back in 2008, I think
right.
the whole world turned upside down financially.
Yeah.
And so that's when I ended up having one too many, and came up with the concept of putting Korean barbecue in a taco. There you go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. So,
lucky, man.
any Filipino influence on your cooking in Kogi?
At home? No, not in Kogi, but in a lot of things that I do at home.
Yeah.
For sure. For when I cook for my daughter and things like that. Yeah.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. One day maybe. I know I've been asked a lot to create the next new Filipino thing, but sometimes, John, it's got to come from, in my opinion, it's got to come from the right place, the right time. You
Yeah.
know, when you feel that like this is the good time to do something, because I don't want to misrepresent my homeland.
Yeah.
Right. And right now I know there's a big Filipino food movement happening, but even then I would tend to debate what what does that even mean? What does Filipino food movement even mean? I mean, it's because a few people are doing amazing work at it.
But it's very multicultural itself.
Of
right?
course,
Yeah.
we were colonized for almost 300 years, and by the Spaniards, as other countries were during the time. And so, really, Filipinos is a awesome melting pot of a tropical oasis made up of, I don't know if you knew this, but 7,100 islands.
Did not
There
know
you
that.
go.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
7,100
Yeah,
islands,
yeah.
and so I've been to 2. I got many more to go to. But yeah.
All right, very cool. So, so it's been 11, 12 years now for Kogi,
Are you
right?
aging me? Don't age
some,
me.
I don't know.
JJ,
Some.
don't
Just
age
get a
me.
timeline, just a timeline. So, but you ventured into other arenas, right? You've tried other things.
Yeah, I've been lucky. You know, I've always been. I don't know if I've got it in my DNA, but I've always been opportunistic, I guess. You know, I've been built and raised a different way in my family for good or for bad to be able to see what could be as opposed to what is, I guess. And so one day we parked our truck in Irvine. Not just some background, like, so in order to have an Orange County food truck, you need to have an Orange County truck. You can't cross counties, right? It's just kind of how it is. Well, we didn't know that.
Yeah,
We just parked our truck somewhere.
because you were LA, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. So we were from LA. So we crossed county lines and parked our truck over at Irvine County. Orange County in Irvine.
right.
And we decided to park, you know, at a business building or whatever it was, or an apartment building, because Irvine's full of that, right? They're full of amazing offices, a huge population of residential. We thought, hey, they got to eat dinner, they got to have lunch. Well, we didn't know that we were supposed to have like permits and licenses, and so we parked it at an Irvine company property, and I met a guy named John Murphy, who I was actually just emailing this morning. At that time, he thought, this is a pretty cool idea, right? He was the VP of retail. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, John, we don't have anything. We don't have any permits or licenses. He goes, no. We can help you put that together. Why don't you come back? And I said, come back, but we don't have that. He goes, here's my number. We'll get that set up for you. Long story short, been working with John ever since. And after our friendship continued to blossom, he ended up creating a whole food truck department that serves all of Irvine. Irvine's huge, all of Irvine. So you'll see food trucks pop up at different business parks, different residential parks. And so that's how my relationship with Irvine company started. And he hired me one day to develop, I don't want to make this too complicated, but essentially he's saying, Mark, we bought a bunch of land in Silicon Valley. They have a huge presence there, Irvine company. And he said, we're building almost 2,000 to 3,000 apartments. Now, we're in the business of apartments and renting out apartments and leasing out offices. But we think what you've done was pretty cool, and we'd like you to help us design and curate what you think will people want to eat once they move into this new community. And that's how my real estate career started. It was through him. Fast forward today, that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm still part of Kogi and all that, but that's what I'm doing now. So what's interesting is I've been hired by a small select few developers in California, and they ask the same question. They'll say, Mark, you know, we are developing 15 acres, 150 acres of land, and on this land will be different uses, apartments, offices, condos, people who are going to live and work here. What do you think, Mark, is your best guess on what they'll want to eat and how they'll want to experience their next social cuisine culinary experience?
So these are more urban than suburban?
Both, but
Both?
definitely more urban. I think there is a larger appetite now for suburbia because it's just the demographics changing, and
Right.
not for good or for bad, but that's just how it is. Demographics changing. People who live in suburbia might have lived in the urban fold, the urban community in the past. And now they're moving out there for lots of reasons. Schools,
Yeah, right.
right? You get more for your buck when you start going into suburbia, but they're also missing that urban type of flair and flavor, and they want that. And so, my job is to understand who lived there, who's living there currently, and who will live there in the future, and understand what the world is doing, and how they are and how other countries and developers are creating social culinary experiences. And my job is to mold them together for my future projects. Yeah, it's like looking through a crystal ball, kind of, I guess. But I've been fortunate, JJ, to be able to understand and see different experiences throughout the country and the world. And so I bring that back to my different projects and say, for example, instead of moving or placing a food stall here, why don't we place it over this side and create a different way of design and architecture and experiences and all
So
that.
this is before they break ground. This is in the very early
This is-
design.
This is like 1 year. This is about 5 years before they even break ground.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like looking through a culinary crystal ball.
Right. So help. Maybe you could. Do you have a story you could tell? An example of where you were involved at
Yeah,
the early
sure.
stages? And
Let's see. I have a project that's ongoing in San Mateo, the Bay Area. It's kind of nice because I grew up in the Bay Area, and so it's called Passages, and it's on the corner. When I say corner of the 101 freeway and the 92, which is the San Mateo Bridge.
right.
Right? Are you familiar with that, John?
I used to live up there.
in San Mateo.
Yeah. Well, I lived in San Bruno.
Not too far away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just
yeah.
10
yeah,
minutes
yeah,
north of that.
yeah,
so
yeah.
so San Mateo is a lovely city. In fact, reminds me a lot of San Bruno. Are we good?
Oh, we're fine.
And it's a charming city, as you know, and it's, in my opinion, one of the last, not the last, but one of the last few charming cities that's still keeping its
It's got a little downtown to it.
yeah, it's
exactly.
its
right,
soul,
yeah,
its culture,
right,
its
yeah,
vibe,
Yeah.
and hasn't really turned into like this monstrous type of tech world yet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it's got a really cute downtown. Anyway, so I was hired by two guys who is Dan and Brian. They are the partner developers who purchased the land with other capital investors. One of them being Brookfield, and so they came in and they said they're purchasing. By the way, we've been working on this for 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Maybe even 2. And so they said, Mark, take a look at this project. We want to bring you on board. And based on your experiences so far in your life, both professionally and personally, what would you do? Now, what's interesting about San Mateo is my family lived pretty close to that place, in Daly City, so not too far away. Also in Foster City. Oh, so I know the area really well. In fact, when I'm up there, I usually try to go there for the San Mateo Farmers Market. It's the largest farmers market in the whole Bay Area.
Okay. I don't remember that. Yeah.
It is,
So,
yeah, and it's on the grounds of a San Mateo Community College. So right away, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we created an awesome food experience that partnered with not only the farmers market but the community college,
Right.
So that we have this authentic, organic connection with the city. And so what we ended up doing is created a food hall.
What's a food hall?
A food hall is a place. I don't want to use like a restaurant, but it's a place where a handful of different restaurants.
Physical structure? Or
That's
is it,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a
Yeah.
physical structure, indoor, outdoor.
Okay. Yeah.
Could be multiple story.
Okay.
Ours is 2. Indoor, outdoor, where it's a collection of, and it could be a number between. I'm coming up with something for an example here. 5 to 40, right? Food vendors, not just food vendors, not just like restaurateurs, but it could be a person selling wine. It could be a person selling cheese or olives. Or it's a collection of different food experiences under one roof. That's what a food hall is. I don't want to. People are using that a lot these days, and so in fact, we don't use the word food hall anymore. We think it's overused, and so we're creating different types of social food experiences. Is really what it is. It's to get people out of their house and to socialize once again. And so what we're doing up there is creating a social food experience that is for San Mateo by San Mateo. So all the food vendors will come directly from the city of San Mateo, or around the Bay Area and the Peninsula. And what we're doing is essentially creating a place for them to take their next step from the pop-up, from a farmer's market to a restaurant. So this is not for us. This is for the city of San Mateo, and that's in the works now. So
help me understand. I hear the words, the social marriage with food. What would you do that's different?
That is, well, it depends on the goal. So, for example, for San Mateo, now it's kind of near and dear to my heart because I grew up in the Bay Area. I wanted to be sure that the vendors came from the Bay Area, and also that the vendors the majority come from San Mateo. But being as a startup myself, and many things, including Kogi, I wanted to also ensure that the vendors came from the farmers market.
Mm-hmm.
And so curating, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to, is really essential. So a lot of different developers will check boxes. For example, they'll say, we need a Mexican, we need a Italian, we need a Japanese, we need a Chinese, and they just check boxes and bring anybody in. But I like to believe it's different these days, where people are now pioneering and championing the local sweetheart, or the local bakery person, or the cheesemonger. They want that person to come in because they're just so favorite. That's one of their favorite places to visit and to purchase their food. And so curating, I think, is one essential key aspect of making your food hall or your social culinary experiences different than others. And also, there's a huge design aspect to this. So a lot of times food halls can be misconceived as a food court. And so what we're doing is looking at different designs and different types of inspirations from around the world that other people are doing, especially in Europe and Asia, and how to incorporate a different look, vibe, and feel into something here in America. So there's a lot of aspects that have to come with that, but the key part is really curating the food, and then the design and everything else can come right after that.
Yeah. So I guess depending on the project, the customer could definitely be local, as in San Mateo, but it also could be a destination where people from 20 miles away will say, we want to go.
That's right.
For that experience.
Right. So I'll give you another example. What we'd like to do is have maybe 30 to 50% of, maybe 50%, for example, right? 50% of the food vendors come to San Mateo, and the rest maybe from the rest of the Bay Area. So you don't have to go across the Bay Bridge to go to Berkeley to find that fried chicken person. We're going to bring them here. Yeah. You don't have to go all the way to San Jose because traffic is tough up there. Yeah. Nope, we got that person over here. So it's bringing a collection of Bay Area's best into one culinary social experience.
Oh, sweet. Because living as I did, so my girlfriend, soon to be my wife, Janet, and I would want to have Chinese, and so we would go into Chinatown in San Francisco, and there was a restaurant called Wado that we would go to.
Still there. I think it's still there, yeah.
And it was fabulous, but it was definitely a destination. So
right.
That's what we did. But after we got there, of course, there were many other choices.
Tons.
But that was the way that, I guess, recreationally, food-wise, we would approach that decision.
That's right.
And it makes me think that transportation is a big aspect.
It's a big deal up there. It's a big deal everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
It took me 45 minutes to get here.
Yeah, exactly. So localizing the food hall, the choice, has an interesting side of it.
That's right.
Can we get a great experience without having to sit in the car for 90 minutes? And for you people who live elsewhere, welcome to Southern California, where you don't express things in miles, you express it in minutes.
That's right.
How long is it going to take you to get the Rose Bowl? Oh, probably about 90 minutes or more.
Yeah. For those who don't live in America, we go by kilometers, but sometimes a kilometer can take an hour. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So I always think about that dynamic. I was very involved in downtown Los Angeles, if you go back about 25 years ago, and this is pre-Staples Center, right? And so they wanted to take not only the Lakers, but the Kings, and what would be the Clippers all to the downtown, and mow down all the old buildings, displace the homeless people, and create this mecca for entertainment,
Right.
and food, etc. And looking back, rather retrospective for 25 years from that planning, they're kind of halfway there, because they still didn't remedy the transportation issue, because they were going to have all these rail lines and remote parking, but didn't quite come through.
Yeah, I live in downtown, and I think they did an okay job for now, and then it stopped, right? Like, development just stopped after 2008, and now there's a resurgence of development happening right across. If you haven't been in a while, John, you should come by. Let me know when you're in the area, and I'll show you around what's happened. And so now there's skyscrapers being pulled up left and right around the convention center, which is also going through a remodel as well.
Yeah, very sweet. Yeah.
But it took a while.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was really a 30-year plan to get to where we are today.
I think we still got another 30 left, but for sure.
Yeah. So, are there any interesting trends in the food world that you're witnessing that you could maybe share with our audience?
Oh, that's a big question. It's a big question. There's a lot of stuff happening in the food world. I think the entrepreneurship side of the food world is thriving. I think creativity and this thing called social media is now more important than anything else in the food world. Restaurants are being designed based on Instagram moments.
Yeah.
Plating is being designed based on Instagram moments.
Yeah, speaking of social media, now the role of Yelp. And I don't know that was true 10, 11, 12 years ago, but many of us, when we say we want to go out to eat, we'll check for restaurants near me, restaurants reviewed with X number of stars near me, things like that. So that's a completely different dynamic, because I think of my life 20 years ago, it was recommendations, right?
Right, word of mouth.
Yeah, it was word of mouth,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, Yelp is definitely used. I use it for just the pictures to see what kind of food I should be ordering when I arrive at the restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone has an opinion, and I don't need to read what
Yeah.
people's opinions are, but I
Yeah.
think what's important for me when I use Yelp is what I should be ordering when I arrive at a restaurant. But now, really, people use Instagram. Instagram is the newest form of Google. I Instagram things first, and then Google these days.
Wow. Yeah, you're teaching me. Okay. Great, yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
set you up with it.
Yeah, okay. So along the way, one of the things that I teach, that I preach, is you have to self-advocate. You have to ask for help
All the time. That's right.
and you need to invest in others so they can be your mentors and advisors. So when you reflect of this journey for yourself, have you had mentors and advisors?
I've been lucky to have a small handful of people, including yourself, but when you're young, you don't feel like, unfortunately, you don't feel like you need them. I really started to understand what that meant when I was in my early to mid 30s. Before that, for whatever reason, I thought I didn't need them, but now I need them more than ever. And so I'm on weekly calls with people who I work with, different partners who I have, just to ask them what's up, have a conversation. What are your thoughts on this? What's your opinion on this?
Mm-hmm.
And we get into some really fun debates about different things, or different topics in life regarding food, regarding travel, regarding different projects that I'm currently working on. But there's something to be said about having mentors who've been there, done that, or are a little bit older than you. And I think, and then what happens, JJ, is I end up taking all these experiences and mentoring others as well. Yeah, and that's, to me, that's the fun part of my life where I'm at now. Of course, having work, being able to provide for the loved ones around me, that's really, really important. But now I'm in a different phase in my life where I feel I feel like it's a really good time to start paying forward. And that's why I reached out to you for the second time. And I thought this is a really good time in my life to say, here I am. I'm a Titan, and how can I give back?
Yeah. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I advocate strongly that we all should have like a personal board of directors.
Yeah.
And to me, and then what I teach is, well, for your spiritual side, that might be your priest, your rabbi. On your physical side, it might be your personal trainer, you know. It could be a nutritionist,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
You know, as you would hire an insurance person or an attorney, this affiliation is warranted because they have information that you don't, and maybe they can keep you from making a mistake.
That's right.
And I think regardless of age, although I think the enthusiasm of young adults sometimes it's easy to brush off that
Of course,
type of help.
yeah.
I'm going to do it myself, finally, by myself.
Or I don't know anyone
Yeah.
in that world,
yeah.
or I can't afford that person. I
Right,
think you'd
yeah.
be surprised. There are people who are willing to say, let me lend you a hand, because I was that person too. So it's funny you said that. I was on my phone with my attorney this morning about a few things regarding some projects
Yeah.
upcoming. But
Yeah, and so sometimes all you got to do is ask.
that's it.
I think, and so today, even though I'm a few years older than you, I still have many advisors and mentors who I reach out to because I want to do well, I want to do good, and
And
these
sometimes,
people,
JJ, you just want to make sure that you're rowing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right? Am I rowing upstream or downstream? Because if it's upstream,
Right.
I'm making the U-turn.
yeah. So it's nice to catch up with you today.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you so much.
Absolutely.
So let's look forward. What is Mark and your work and your family and your purpose? What is that going to be like in, let's say, 10 years from now?
Still working.
Still working.
Still
Okay.
working. Still doing what I do. Someone asked me the other day, Mark, how do you do everything that you do? In fact, a couple of years ago, I was going through this thing where I was like, man, I don't know if I should be doing what I do. I don't know if I just had this really weird doubt in my life a couple of years ago, but now I'm starting to understand that sometimes I feel like maybe I don't deserve all this success.
Mm-hmm.
It's only because someone told me it's because you feel like you work every day because I love what I do, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 41 years to get there, and I'm still getting there, by the way. I still have a lot more years ahead of me to try to figure out that answer or that question. But certainly, I think what's really important is though I'm involved and I'm dabbling in different projects. I'm involved in 2 new startups as well. Is sticking to the point where one, be able to provide employment and opportunities and create awesome experience and projects with people around me. But 2 is I've been fortunate to say, do I want to do this because I need to, or do I want to do this because I love the job and I love the people? And so that's where I'm at now in my life.
Yeah, and I think it's very appropriate to put things on pause and ask yourself, where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
And you can reflect and say, what have I done? But I think the reflection of what I should do next, and should I keep on doing this? Should I reinvent? Those are all powerful questions,
Yeah.
and I think throughout a lifetime, doing that's healthy.
Yeah, no. One piece of advice I give to people who are younger than me, who are in their 20s and 30s, is have clarity first. Find clarity in your life, and you'll be able to see everything else a lot more clearer. So, for example, if they're going through an up and down, a bad breakup, or if they're just in a place where they're not comfortable but they're still trying to push forward, you gotta press pause, clean up, see what's happening forward in front of you, and get some clarity in your life, and then move forward, because you'll be able to see everything after that a lot more clearer. And that's what happened to me. And so I was going through a bunch of stuff, and things weren't that clear. As soon as I got rid of the different things that were happening in my life that weren't helping me out, JJ, life got a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up our talk, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think I should, or maybe you were hoping that I would ask
No,
you?
I think you hit the nail right on the head on all the
Yeah.
different projects and different subjects for sure. Yeah, I'm hoping this is helpful for people who are listening, and
Yeah.
for you even. This is you probably didn't know half of this stuff. About
No,
me.
I learned a lot. I'm honored. I'm honored.
Thank you. That's nice of you.
So, how can our listeners get in touch with you? Whether it's from Kogi or from...
They can email you directly. Give me your personal phone number if you like, your
Yeah,
address.
Yeah, okay. Come drop by my house for Thanksgiving, you know. But whether it's Paradigm Coast Group
Yeah,
or
they
Kogi
can.
BBQ...
Yeah, they can go to paradigmcoastgroup.com.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're on LinkedIn, right?
I
They can
am.
hit you
Yeah, I
up
don't
on
check it out, but that's an old photo of me. It's a very young photo of me.
LinkedIn. I
Thank you.
noticed, yeah.
Yeah, I got to change that
Yeah,
photo.
you gotta-
But for sure.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much for joining
You're welcome.
us.
Absolutely a pleasure.
And our guest next week is going to be author David Opsfeld. He's going to be talking about advanced interpersonal networks and how that relates to entrepreneurs, knowing people who know people who know people. Right.
That's another thing, JJ. Before I know we have much time, but one thing I learned in life, it's unfortunately you got to know a little bit in life, but it's really who you know. I taught my daughter that the other day. She's 10, and she didn't know what that meant. And then I started showing her different things that I'm getting involved in, and she asked me a question: how'd you get that project? It's who you know, and I've been fortunate to be around people who, one, believe in me, trust me, know that I have the skills to complete and
Exactly.
execute a project.
Right.
But it's just people who you know, man.
You
And
got
so
it.
networking is hard. People say, how do you always stay out there? And it's a job. You got to invest money to network, take people out to lunch and happy hours and dinners and breakfast, and but it all pays off at the end. So
Right.
that's
Very
one thing
cool.
I wanted to make sure that I think we talked about today is it's really who you know in this world.
Sweet. So look forward to meeting with you all again next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Be sure to visit my website, johnbradleyjackson.com.
Come over for Thanksgiving
Come
dinner.
over Thanksgiving. We're having turkey, ham,
Filipino
and
food. Lumpia.
Triduncan. Right, or Triduncan, whatever that is, right. So also visit the Fullerton website for Center for Entrepreneurship. Until next time.
Cheers.